but I think it's still down. But that's great. We'll have to do that another time.
Big cheers. Duh. He goes like this.
Yeah.
But I asked him, I said, how many times that little fella on top of your golf cart there been hit in the mouth lately? Y'all won't play us up north. I said, well, y'all won't play us down south. So go mow your grass over there. By the way, his yard looked like crap anyway. His yard had patches and sprigs, and it looked like crap. So, yeah.
Bruce over State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Speak with JC on the Titan More Hotline. We'll have Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Second portion. Tony says, we're talking golf now.
Okay.
He said, I thought JT Poston did the right thing yesterday. Play to win. People act like he's living paycheck to paycheck. He has won twice and almost $10 million in earnings. I don't know if you saw the end of it, JC. He was 2 or 3 shots on a par 5. His ball was below his feet and down by this lake, terrible lie.
Hit it low.
He had like 225. So he tried to, obviously he's trying to win the tournament. He hit a pretty good shot, but it hit the bank or a rock, and then it hit the 3M sign and then went in the water.
That's all right.
The problem is he had a bad chip up there, and then he either 2 or 3 putted. So he ended up splitting second place. It cost him like $260,000, but I like JT Poston. Good player.
Well, listen, Lee Hodges was dominating this tournament.
Do you know where Lee Hodges played golf, JC?
I've never heard of him. Tell me where.
Are you serious?
Well, maybe I have, and I just can't think of it.
It would be the University of Alabama.
Oh. Hell yeah, Lee.
So we'll see. What kind of Alabama fan are you?
Well, I haven't gotten my Alabama Elephant Golf Club logo shirt yet. So,
well, his college coach was there watching, and he had on the swinging elephant shirt. I guess they call it.
That's taking over the swinging mascot.
But I can't believe a guy who claims he graduated from Alabama. Didn't even. I've been waiting to ask you that because I wasn't sure if you knew that or not.
Dude, when you're in Goshen, Mississippi, and you're doing chores and things, these secondary golf tournaments don't really fly. But I'm thrilled for Lee Hodges. But he is a first-time winner, and he shot 4 rounds in the 60s, mid-60s, 63, 64, 66, and 67. He was never threatened. So I don't know if Poston was 2 behind or 3 behind, but he won by 7. And Laird, Streelman, and Poston all tied for second. So they split second, third, and fourth place.
We didn't get to do our Peachland Dental picks since I was off last week, but we'll crank up the Peachland Dental picks this week.
Yeah, I would have.
You would have taken Lee Hodges,
of course, because he went to Alabama. But
yes.
But we also, I know you're excited about this, but we get to do our power rankings. We get to pick our divisions in the NFL, and we get to pick our conference winners. Yeah. And we also get to pick numbers of wins in the conference. That's the other one I want to make sure we do for each team.
Well, you're going to have to keep up with all this because I got way too much going on.
I'll keep up with it. I'll do the bookkeeping.
I have to admit this. Yesterday, I wake up and I literally, for 25 minutes or more, I'm looking for Twitter on my damn phone.
It's X now.
Well, I didn't know that. So I'm like, did I delete Twitter? So I go to the app thing on my phone and try to download Twitter again. It wouldn't work. And I'm like, I got to see what's going on in the sports world. And finally I figured out, I Googled it. I said, where did my Twitter go? And it said it's now called X. What the hell's that mean?
Elon's just rebranding, Facebook's come out with their own thing I think it's called Reels or something. So Facebook is competing now, is going to with Twitter on the platform that utilizes the small content statement ability. I don't know how you describe Twitter, but it's where I get my stuff, QB. I'm like you.
Yeah, I had no idea it changed its name, and I looked literally for almost half an hour.
Well,
I was because I'm terrible with technology.
I would have told you. You should have texted me. So, QB, name right now for me the five highest top rated quarterbacks according to Mike Farrell, who's a big recruit guy and has over 1 million followers on X. Give me the top 5 quarterbacks entering 2023. Go ahead.
What level of football are we talking here?
The top 5 entering football.
The National Football League?
No, I'm sorry, college. I can give you the pros here in a minute.
Oh, well, Caleb Williams and Drake May. I mean, those are no brainers.
Those are the top two. And then, but here's where I think you may be surprised. What's 3, 4, and 5 according to this guy, Mike Farrell, who's supposedly a big shot? Number 3 would be he's got Bo Nix at Oregon.
Bo, I will tell, I'm not a huge Bo Nix fan. I thought Bo was terrible. He would just run backwards all the time when he played at Auburn.
But he's better.
He's developed to a better player. He's probably got Bo Nix. He's got Michael Penix Jr., I bet.
That's correct. 3 and 4. And then we've got Michael Pratt at 5 and Jordan.
You know who Michael Pratt is? That's who. See, this goes back. Not saying that this guy knows what the hell he's talking about, because the first 2 that he has on there are no brainers. They're going to be 1 and 2 in the draft. But remember when Billy Napier went after Michael Pratt and thought he was going to come here, people were like, why is he going after a Tulane kid?
Yeah.
I'm telling y'all, man, that's another reason why I'm a firm believer that this team's going to be a lot better, because you've got to trust the evaluation process. It goes back to the best players that produced for the Florida Gators last year were handpicked and brought in by Billy Napier.
Well, then he'll have to be good this year to get on next year's top 50, because he's not on this year's top 50. But we'll see. Graham Mertz.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. But my point is, when Montrell Johnson, Osiris Turns, and Ricky Pearsall, those guys, nobody was talking about them until they actually performed on the field. So,
well, Ricky should have caught more passes last year, QB. That's all I got to say. He didn't catch enough. They didn't throw it to him enough. Or Anthony didn't see him enough, but I don't think
that could have been the problem.
I don't think he was involved. Yeah, I mean, the guy had to be open. He had to be open. He's so fast, and I just didn't see the ball enough last year. But who cares? That's last year. We're not talking about last year. So QB, you got another team that's going to join the Big 12? Or you think they're going to stay at 13?
Honestly, I haven't
thought about it.
I haven't even thought about it, JC.
I don't blame you, but listen, these are just things that are happening before the season starts. But this guy believes the 2 Arizona teams are going to join that conference, and we'll see. I think Utah would be a good fit, but I think that because BYU's in there, and I think that would be a natural rivalry in Utah.
Andy says, Shane, this is brought to you by Melton Law. He says, disappointing to see Gatorverse basketball lost its tourney game to Maryland. Corey Brewer's 27 points, not enough. Yeah, I mean, it's a one and done deal. It's an interesting format. I didn't get to see any of the game, unfortunately. So John wants to know our thoughts on the rumors of FSU to the Big Ten. Have you heard that? I've not heard that.
No, I don't. I haven't heard that, and there's no point in talking about this until somebody gives me an answer on the grant of rights deal that the ACC has with all their members. They own the media rights. Florida State doesn't have the money to leave to go to another conference. It's just that simple. I don't know why this is. I guess it's talked about because FSU fans desperately want out of the ACC for whatever reason, but I don't think that's real. I don't think it's real, and I don't see how they can do it financially. The league's not going to give you back your rights. They own them. So. Okay, so I talked about the top 5 quarterbacks. Give me the tier 1 NFL quarterbacks, top 5, real quick. Go ahead.
Ooh.
You know this, QB. You got this.
Mahomes.
Yeah.
Burrow.
Yes.
Josh Allen.
Yes.
And then after that, I mean,
it's considered tier 1. I don't know what that means. Some guy.
I mean, they got to have Aaron Rodgers.
It's Aaron Rodgers 4 and Herbert 5. And then 6. And then, you have something now then called tier 2, and then that would get the Jalen Hurts crew in there.
What tier was I on, JC?
You were on tier
22. Tier 22.
Well, listen, NFL is really interesting, man. I think the league is going to have a big year. I'm actually looking forward to all of it. Typically we don't look at the NFL the same way as we do college, and that's true because we live in a college town. We follow a college team. But folks in Baltimore, folks in Cleveland, it's all about the NFL. And they've got a guy in both of those cities, for instance, that they think can help them win. Trevor Lawrence, for instance.
Cincinnati's season was about over last week when Burrow went down.
It was, and I tell you, we already started with the injuries. Ramsey's probably not going to play in Miami until late November now. Meniscus.
What did he do?
meniscus, total redo of the meniscus, and they just started practice. And the Dolphins are that team that just can't get away from the injury bug. And it starts at the quarterback position. The question is, how many weeks until Tua gets his next coconut splatter? The next concussion, what, 6.5 weeks, 8.5 weeks, 4.5 weeks? It's just it's so predictable, and it's sad. I don't like it, but it's I think what we come to expect now in this league, man. And injuries are just something you can't account for. But you have players that have patterns that injuries follow, and it seems like Miami just is that team that just can't get through that injury bug, man. I feel bad. I want Miami to compete. That division, the AFC East and the NFC East, they could be really the two best divisions. I just think they're going to be great with the way the Jets, they're going to sign Dalvin Cook here soon. They're about to sign Dalvin freaking Cook. So what a pickup. I mean, that's a freebie there.
Aaron Rodgers. Speaking of it, can you explain real brief, JC, real brief? What is the argument going between Aaron Rodgers and Sean Payton? I missed that whole deal.
I missed that, but Sean's out there smoking dope in Denver, and he loves it. And, there's video of him hitting a water bomb, man. And it's totally fine because you're in Denver. So, great. Go, Sean, go. He's back in it. I'm not a proponent of that type of activity, but.
He was doing what?
Yeah, there was video of him hitting a bomb. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Josh asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon. Shane, is there any new football players, Florida football players, that you're excited to see play this year or candidate for a new breakout player? Yeah. Let me get to know the roster a little bit better after I watch a few practices. But I would right now I would just say one of those young, fast receivers. I think they're going to be all right. We got a couple of texts on the Titan Mart text line. If you want to shoot us a text, it's 352-353-7465. This was from last week. Actually, Josh sent it. He wanted me to. He said, "This is for a fun contest. If a listener can guess the exact number of hats that JC owns, JC could send that winner a signed 8x10 of JC and that fan's favorite hat."
My God, I could.
Well, first of all, how many people want JC's autograph of 8x10 of JC?
It's overwhelming demand, bro. Overwhelming what this show has done to my resuscitated sports career from the glory days of TV 20 sports in the 90s, which were the glory days of Florida football and preceding the glory days of Florida basketball. The tier 2 quarterbacks, QB, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Lawrence, Prescott, Stafford, Watson, and Kirk Cousins. There you go. I'll tell you a guy you better watch for this year. I think that could be somebody is the guy that just landed in New Orleans. If Kamara stays healthy, I think Derek Carr could have a big year. And I don't know about Michael Thomas. Look, you're a Saints fan. That's your favorite team. And, I know you're going to watch the Saints and hope they.
Oh, yeah. I'm a diehard. I watch every game. I don't even know who the hell who is their coach right now?
It's not Dennis Allen?
Oh, it is. You're right.
Is it not? Did that change?
It is. It is.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah, and Dennis Allen's a fine defensive coach, and I think the Saints were one of the better defenses in the league last year. It's the only reason they won 8 games or however many. Cameron Jordan, a Hall of Fame guy. They're going to be nasty again. But Kamara stays healthy. They get Michael Thomas. If he's healthy, Derek Carr. Look at that. Look at that team. I think that team can make noise. In this NFC South, you got the Falcons, you got the Panthers, Bryce Young, who they're raving about right now, and in Tampa Bay, who's going to be the quarterback, right? So,
everything I've heard is Baker
Mayfield, yeah. But I mean, are we going to see any Kyle Trask? Well, we're going to see him in the preseason, and we're going to see what he can do in the preseason. His career is that of let's wait 2 years and play in the third. That's just the way it is for Kyle Trask, and here we are right now in year 3. So.
Yeah. All right, let's get to This Day in Sports, brought to you by our good friends at Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union. So, JC, in 2016, the PGA Championship, which has been played in this month for many years, no longer.
Yes, it should be in August. I hate that.
At Baltusrol Golf Club,
yes,
the American Jimmy Walker wins his first major by one shot over the defending champ, Jason Day. That's This Day in Sports, brought to you by our good friends at Campus USA Credit Union. We'll be joined after the break, Scott Carter. Scott was at the press conference yesterday We'll get his thoughts on the Gators opening up camp today. A text just came through on the Titan MR text line from Chris in Cottondale. Why doesn't JC put up a background up like you? It's the same pool area backdrop every day. Can't he liven up his studio some?
Well, I just like being outside looking at the 10th fairway. I guess I'll have to change it up.
Maybe you should turn around so people can see the golf course Wednesday.
Well, I'll
instead of your window panes.
Well, sometimes the problem with that, and if you were in TV or cameras, the backlighting when it's bright, and that's what happens, will make me look dark.
Well, we'll let you know if you don't look good, and we'll tell you to flip around. How about that?
What a deal! All right, Wednesday we'll preview. We will debut, I should say, the beautiful 10th fairway here at Augusta.
Now, one day it could be a fairway. The next day it could be a lake.
It's looking
depending on how much rain comes.
Looking lakeish, and that's the other thing. By the way, folks, be careful. Bring an umbrella and bring some rain gear if you're going to practice. I mean, this afternoon stuff is heavy stuff, man. It's nasty.
JC, did you see where Sony Michel's already retired at age 25?
And did you know he won in those? At that young age, he's won how many Super Bowls, QB?
At least 2.
He has won 2, correct. And that's great.
With the Rams and the Patriots.
That's right. In fact, he played against the Rams with the Patriots, and then he won with the Rams against the Bengals a few years ago. Sony Michel, good Georgia running back. Nick Chubb is, I think, the premier Georgia running back that's come out of that school here in the last 5-10 years, and he's going to try to stay healthy. It's all about that as they play in Cleveland with that overpaid quarterback. We'll see how good he is. But I think Sony Michel had a great career. I mean, you get 2 Super Bowl rings in 6 years, 7 years. That's pretty good for running back. And I
don't think he was in the league that long. I think he was on the league 5 years. I think
maybe it was, but I have a different take on the running backs. I'll expand on that Wednesday. We talked about how they're not being paid relative to the other positions. I will say this: Saquon Barkley being in camp really helps the Giants. But Saquon Barkley accounted for 40% of the Giants' plays, and he's only 4.7% of their salary cap. Something's imbalanced. Not all running backs are the same, and I've changed my tune on how they should be paid. I'll get into that on Wednesday.
Yeah, Dan has a question here brought to you by Mellon Law. 5 years you get your benefits, right, for the NFL? Yeah. So in the NFL, you got to be on the roster for 3 years and 3 games to get all your benefits. If you make it for 2 years and 3 games or whatever, no, you don't. That's why a lot of people don't realize the average career of an NFL player is 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Because if you only play 2.5 years, you're not getting all your benefits. You don't get vested, you don't get any of that. Yeah. And that's why the general public thinks, now it may be different now, but there's 53 dudes on a roster. Everybody thinks they're all millionaires. They're not, because you have about 10 players out of those 53 that are making a couple million or more. Everybody else is making minimum salary. And don't get me wrong, that's a lot of money still. It varies how many years you've been in the league for their minimum salary. But what happens is you get those backup type players that are wide receivers, running backs, linebackers, and DBs that are young and can fly. You put them on those minimum contracts, and then after two, before it gets to be 3 years, you release them and you find some young dudes just like them. And then they don't get vested. So it's a crazy, crazy game.
Well, these running backs have an argument in some cases. I do realize, though, that some of those contracts that were signed with Ezekiel Elliott, people like that, kind of ruined the position because they didn't pan out. These owners aren't going to do that. They're not going to throw $80 to $100 million at a running back.
Well, I wouldn't for Zeke Elliott. I mean, when I look at the running backs, and we got to get Scott Carter when he logs in here in just a second. Okay. Like Kamara, McCaffrey, Saquon, they're different because they can do everything. Like Zeke Elliott, I feel like I know he can catch, but he just looks so uncoordinated when the ball's thrown his way. So anyway, I think Tony Pollard is a better running back than Zeke Elliott.
Well, he signed his franchise tag, but Josh Jacobs left town, and he's insulted by what the Raiders are not giving him. And like I said, I want to get into that just briefly on Wednesday because I know you got Scott coming on. But when you've got a guy that accounts for almost half of your plays, think about this. And he's got a C on his jersey, which means he's a captain. I'm talking about Barkley. And they gave him all the look. He had a $26 million offer for 2 years on the table. He turned it down. And now he turns out to be getting $1 million more than what he's franchised for. And he's only got 1 year contract. I think he could have been advised to take those 2 years and $26 million guaranteed, but he didn't. The thing is that he accounts for everything the Giants do. When you are playing the Giants, there's one guy you look out for basically before the play starts, and that's number 26. That's why all these positions are not, all these players at that position are not the same, and I agree with that. So,
all right, last question before we get to Scott. John says, did you hear about the Maryland QB, Tua's little brother, said he was offered 1.5 to go play quarterback the SEC? I don't believe that one bit.
Yeah, and I don't know who in the SEC we're talking about here. That's so. There's 14 of us, right?
I mean, the dude. I mean, look, he's a good little player for Maryland, but he's He ain't even 5'10". There is no way he was offered any money to go play in the SEC.
He would never have seen the field at Alabama. Okay, right. He left because he wanted to play, and he was not going to see the field. Who's going to throw $1.5 million at a guy that's not even?
No, I think that's all hogwash. That's just my opinion. JC, have a good day. Right. We'll see you on Friday. That's JC. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Take a quick time out. We come back. We'll be joined by senior writer, FloridaGators.com, Scott Carter. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Can you hear me, man?
I got you, Scott. What's up?
All right, good. Not much, dude. Just getting back in the flow a little bit.
Now you're on phone, right? Oh no, there you are.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, M.M. Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Head Ball Coach Steve Spurrier, and I'm here with my wife Jerry and our good friend Sherry Houston, the Executive Director of the Ronald McDonald House Charities of North Central Florida. We're thrilled to announce that the 2-year anniversary of our restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, is coming up on August 14th. Last year, we had so much fun celebrating with everybody that we're doing it bigger and better this year. We're hosting a special dinner and celebration that will include a chef's choice of premium buffet or your favorite Spurrier Gridiron Grill menu, including a filet mignon carving station, shrimp and grits, short rib risotto, wonderful seafood options, and many dessert options also.
Like my famous chocolate chip cookies.
Proceeds being donated to the local Ronald McDonald House.
Thrilled to once again partner with Coach Jerry and the Spurrier Gridiron team to raise funds for the Ronald McDonald House, benefiting families and children experiencing medical emergencies.
Spurrier's Gridiron Grill will be donating 11% of all of our money from food and 66% of drink sales to the Ronald McDonald House.
Go to Spurriers.com right now and reserve a ticket before they sell out.
We'll have wonderful food, special guests, and a limited edition of the 2nd year anniversary collector's coins, as well as prizes like a dinner with me and Jerry. We couldn't have become one of the busiest and most successful restaurants in the Southeast without your support. So we want to celebrate with the most important people of our team, and that's you.
I want to celebrate with some of those cookies. Do you have any of those?
Sure do. Right here for you.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate. With premium brands like Visor's Rooftop, Bass Pro Shops, Dave & Buster's, Fat Tuesday, Starbucks, and the HBC's restaurant. Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, the hottest restaurant in Florida in the heart of Gator Nation. That's Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Don't forget, selling tickets for the second year anniversary of the head ball coach's restaurant, which is going to be on August 14th. We're going to go to the Titan Tomorrow hotline now. We're joined by a guy who loves to celebrate, Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. It's go time, Scott. I hope you're rested up, my man.
It is time to celebrate another start of a football season, Shane. Yeah, media day or media availability was Sunday, and Billy Napier opened with what you just said. It's go time. And, you know, they're reported to camp and go to the first practice today. And it's always exciting this time of year, Shane. I mean, it's one of those years where I don't know a lot as far as what to expect when you have such a new team, so many new players. I think this camp is going to be more interesting than, quite frankly, most, because there's just going to be so many new guys out there you're watching to kind of gauge what kind of talent and impact they might have in the 2023 season. So, but I'm ready to see it, man.
What's crazy is the statement you just said, you don't know what to think about this team. You don't really know.
Yeah.
You know, and like this time last year, I said, if we win 6 or 7 games, I think Billy Napier will have done an unbelievable job. Now, they may have could have won a couple of other ones, but I'm going into this season. I am so optimistic, Scott. I think I'm on record, and I haven't talked to you in a while. I have the Gators winning a minimum of 8 games.
Really?
And I think they may win more. And we'll see. I could be a moron. I was talking to Doring last week or 2 weeks ago, and you know, he's like most of the national media. I said, Doring, you picked Kentucky to go 11-1 and win the East last year, buddy. So don't be messing with my picks. All right.
Yeah. I mean, when you pick and make your announcements public, I mean, we're all open to ridicule. But I do remember last year, I got to tip my hat to you because I was a little more optimistic than you last year. I thought with Anthony Richardson, but you kind of hit it on the head with the inconsistent play and just an up and down season. Now this year, Shane, I think you might be a little more optimistic. If they get to 8 wins, I agree. Billy Napier, to me, he should be SEC Coach of the Year. I'm starting with the 6-6, and let's see where it goes. But the thing is, you know, we've seen players come in. When you get good players, they can make a difference in year one. And that's what the Gators have been missing. If some of these guys are like that, then they could really surprise a lot of people.
Well, Scott, you know, analytics are big in today's world. I'm becoming an analytical guy, so to speak.
Okay.
And the reason I'm being optimistic is the best players, and people on my show have heard this for the last month and a half, the best players for the Florida Gators last year were handpicked and brought here by Billy Napier. So trust his evaluation process, and that's what I'm going to do. We got a text for you on the Titan Tomorrow text line. Josh from Mississippi says, can you ask Scott what his impressions were on the Florida players' physical improvements from off-season workouts? Lots of the players seem to gain some big muscle mass. Additionally, his thoughts of the we're going to shock the world mentality from the players. So it's kind of a 2-part question. But I did hear some bits and pieces of Billy throwing out, you know, Scott Carter has lost 12 pounds of fat and gained 10 pounds of muscle.
Well, he lied in that one, Shane. So I wish he was telling the truth. But he did open and talk about some guys. I mean, the one that stuck out right ahead was Tony Livingston. If you remember him, they signed him back in 2022. But he didn't come in. He was a basketball player rehabbing an injury. Now he's in as kind of a tight end offensive lineman. 28 pounds of muscle since he got here. That really impressed me. Jason Marshall, the cornerback who, you know, Jason came in as a really hyped guy down in Miami. I think he's been a solid player so far, but I don't think you fit him into the category of the great cornerbacks in Gators history yet. I think he has that potential, but 7 pounds of lean muscle, Billy says, so that should help him. Those are just a couple of the names that stuck out to me. He said 53 guys, and I love this term. They've improved their max velocity because I definitely need to go work on my max velocity after we get off here because it's not very good right now. But that just shows me that they've been working hard. They're making some significant improvements, and what I really like what they do in terms of they're big on analytics. Obviously, they have a director of sports numbers analytics, whatever you want to call it. They have speed coaches. They have all these people in the building to focus specifically on different areas for different players and position groups. And I think they were starting to see results. I mean, last year at this time, they were just trying to get guys to buy in. I think there's a better buy-in now, obviously, and some of the numbers are indicating that. And, though they rely on that stuff in a lot of different ways, and you just hope that it shows up on the field. But I took it as a positive. And then the second part of the question was about the shock the world, the chip on their shoulder mentality. Hey, you know what? You're at Florida. There's not many times in my memory, Shane, if any, when the Gators open a season at the SEC Media Days, pick to finish 5th in the East. Let's face it. That's probably happened a couple of times in my lifetime. So I would expect nothing less of those guys to kind of get that caught their attention. But it's good motivation. If I was a player, I would want to say the same thing. I'd want to prove these people wrong. I mean, Jaden Hill said it best, kind of shocked him a little bit, but we just got to go out and win some games. And that's how you change that reputation. So it's a simple coin to flip, but I like the mentality there that the players discussed.
Yeah, John has a Facebook Live question brought to you by Mellon Law. He says, Scott, what position group battle intrigues you the most? He's watching the defensive line, particularly the defensive tackle group.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a group that I think there's just a lot of unknowns up there. I think it's one to certainly, keep your eye on. I mean, I don't know how much of a battle it is. I can't, whenever you enter a season with such newness at quarterback, there's so many unknowns. I mean, I'm always going to watch that one the most. I just got to see something out of Mertz this spring that separates him, or this fall that separates him a lot. I hope to see that. I think he's clearly the guy. I mean, Jack Miller, I think, would have to do something a lot different maybe than we've seen. And I really want to see the young receivers, Shane. Losing Xavier Henderson and some of that experience out there. I mean, you got Ricky Pearsall back, but, whether it's Andy Jean, the kid coming in from Tampa, Gaither, Trey, name's going to slip me as I run down the list here, but I really want to see this young receiver group because, to me, they have a chance to play and make an impact right away, even though I think this is going to be a run game offense. I mean, we know that Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne and some of those other guys, for the Gators to have success offensively, it's going to have to be starting with the running game. But you got to have help all across the board. So, but defensive line, I mean, he hits on a great spot there. I mean, that unit's kind of unknown, and I love the fact that Austin Armstrong is an aggressive kind of coach who, I think he's going to be a little bit more aggressive in his scheme than maybe Patrick Toney was, and he knows that that's the way you can win and disrupt some things in the SEC. So got to have the players, though. We all know that.
Greg from Fort Myers on the Titan Mar text line says the team will live or die with the offensive line. We have to be able to run and throw. I expect the defense to be drastically improved. I see 7 wins minimum.
Well, Greg's on your side, my man.
Yeah, for this team to win at least 8 games or more, it goes back to where I feel like the worst part of our program has been in the last, for say, 2 or 3 years, was the front 7 on defense. And I think that's going to be dramatically improved. Speaking of that, Austin Armstrong spoke yesterday. Anything stand out? I'm telling you, every time I listen to him talk, I hear Kirby Smart. He sounds just like Kirby Smart to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. He does have a lot of that demeanor. I hope that he can coach like Kirby Smart because that would be good for the Gators. In terms of what I really like Austin Armstrong, I love the kind of the energy. He's one of those instant energy guys. When he comes into the room, he just boosts the energy a little bit. I think the players really relate to him well because, let's face it, he's not much more than a decade older than most of those guys. So I like what he said yesterday in terms of, it all starts right now with the individual, and you've got to mold and make these guys believe that they can be a difference maker in what you're trying to do. And for him, that's a lot of what this camp is, because there's so many new guys, so much competition for playing time. You got to sell that to these guys. Like, guys show up every day with that mentality. This is your chance right now. I mean, the door is open at a lot of positions. And I think that's just his message early in camp. And then as he goes through a couple of weeks, because there's a longer acclimation period and everything than there used to be, Shane. I mean, fall camp's a lot different than when you played, obviously. So it's going to take some time to really get to the heart of figuring out who's doing what, maybe who's in the lead in some of these position battles. But I think Armstrong's connection right now with these guys is just to, hey, the opportunity is there for us to go and make a big difference with the team that I think, as your texter a minute ago, I think the defense, I agree with him. I think this defense is going to be improved this year.
Yeah. Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by. A few more minutes with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Josh has a question here. He says, Scott, I heard the coaches ask Kamari to play linebacker in the offseason. I've heard people say Moton will start alongside Miguel Mitchell. Is Kamari not the guy that we thought coming in?
Oh, that's one of those questions it's hard to say, man. I think Austin Armstrong, what he sees in camp will depend a lot on what Kamari. I mean, I thought Kamari, for what he did last year as a young player, I mean, I certainly thought the signs were there for him to be a solid contributor down the road. I mean, obviously, RC is a guy that they like because of the veteran presence, and he's going to be on the field, I think, right away. Kamari has still got a lot of development left, but I don't see him not being a piece of the puzzle at this point. I mean, I haven't heard anything along those lines. I just think he's a young player still trying to figure things out, So we'll see how that shakes out. Like I said, this is what camp's for a lot of those questions to kind of be answered before Utah.
Yep. All right, last question for you. Yesterday, the one thing that stood out to me, and I don't know what it's about, it's probably more convenience, putting these boys up in dorms instead of going to the hotel. They're going pretty much kind of right across the road there from the facility, so it's going to be convenient, but it's not going to be over at the Hilton, which is a good thing. We lived in Yon Hall year round. We didn't get to go to training camp, get to go to a hotel or whatever. But your thoughts on the reason Billy's doing that? Are we trying to save money to use it for NIL?
No, I don't think it's that. I just think, this going into second year, your first year with really more of your team, more of your players. We've talked about, and it's been discussed over and over about how many new players are in reality. I mean, this is as big of a roster turnover at Florida as we've had in a long time. So, it's kind of an old school mentality. Get these guys out of their comfort zone a little bit to start camp. Get them together, get them to know each other, assign them random roommates, get them to know some guys who maybe they don't normally hang out with away from the field or practice facility. Maybe they don't sit down and eat dinner with a lot. I don't think for people from our generation, Shane, this is pretty normal operating stuff back. This is how teams built unity. And I think Billy, I think we've been around him enough, and the fans have heard enough from Billy Napier to know that this guy values a lot of what he learned from his dad, who was a long-time high school coach up in Georgia. A lot of old school in him, I'm sure. And he's using some of, I think, those techniques back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Put away your smartphones, man. Get to know the guy, talk to him.
Well, that's right. They're not allowed to take their phones over there, right?
Yeah,
who the hell's going to monitor that?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Well, they got enough people.
Yeah, they got enough people to figure it out. Some guy can sit there and hold all the phones if they need it for emergency. But I just think I like it personally. A lot of people kind of Yeah, I got a lot of mixed reviews on Twitter yesterday. It's like some people were like all for it. Some people were like, "Oh, this isn't. Remember the Titans. This isn't going to work." I'm like, "Hey, man, it's a week."
This is how, like you said, the worst thing that happened in college athletics, especially football, was when they did away with the athletic dorms.
Yeah,
because everybody living together, it builds chemistry, and you learn to like people, and if you don't like them, you figure out how to get along with them.
yeah.
And I think it goes a long ways. Real quick, you talked about the turnover, the biggest turnover probably in Florida history in the roster. How many new players will be running out of the tunnel today for the game? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but when you look
I
at
don't know I don't know the
year,
exact number, Shane, but it's definitely over 50, in the 50 to 60 range. Because you got to remember, like 30 some guys transferred out. They brought in more than a dozen new transfers. They signed 20 or so new guys, freshmen 25. I don't have the numbers, but yeah, I mean, so you just add up the numbers. Very rare. I mean, it's more common than ever today in college football with the transfer portal and what's going on where we are in the game. But I mean, just as an overall roster turnover, man, I mean, it's almost what NFL roster is 53, right?
Yep.
So it's almost like a whole new NFL roster.
That is
and plus,
yeah.
40 other guys. So I mean, that just shows you where the program was. I mean, it's Billy Napier's program now more.
So Scott, I got a homework assignment for you because I'm probably going to come out and watch practice today. Can you tell Hurtado that I need to print off a roster, names and numbers, so us radio boys can start learning the roster since there's so many damn new players?
That's right, man. I'm right there with you. I mean, I had it kind of down after spring, but then I got busy with other sports,
but then they changed their numbers.
Yeah, and I don't retain the stuff like I used to, Shane.
Yeah.
I guess that's just part of getting older, but yeah, man. So I'll make sure we get some rosters out there and help you out, dude.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time. Let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter. And you got any good stuff you're going to be putting on the website this week?
Yeah, just kind of getting rolling with camp coverage. I'm trying to figure out a couple of good stories actually this week. I mean, I'm kind of it's Gator Scott on Twitter, same place I've been for a while, FloridaGators.com. You can always catch us there. And, we're just getting rolling, and I'm excited and hope people check us out.
All right. That's Scott Carter. Appreciate it, my man. We'll see you this afternoon.
See you, Shane.
All right. That's Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Join us on the Titan Lamar hotline. We appreciate him and JC joining us. And good to be back in action here. Hope you guys have a good day. And we'll be here tomorrow with Buddy. I am going to go to practice today. Ted's letting me know Twitter is X. I know that now, Ted, after about an hour looking for it on my phone. So I hope you enjoyed today's program. Again, it's go time, as Coach Napier says. Should be some fun times ahead, and be optimistic, folks. Appreciate you watching our program. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.